Good evening. Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Vigo County's General Election Mayoral Candidate Forum. Before we begin, if you will stand and we will say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, welcome. I am Carly Schmidt, co-president of the League of Women Voters of Vigo County, and also an associate professor of political science at Indiana State University. I'm going to serve as moderator tonight. Robbie Piper, who is the League of Women Voters secretary, is going to serve as our timekeeper. The League thanks our co-sponsors, the Greater Terre Haute branch of the NAACP and the Terre Haute Tribune-Star. For their continued collaboration, we also thank the principal of Woodrow Wilson, Ms. Verosco, Mr. Ingram as well, a faculty member here, and the entire staff at Woodrow Wilson for generously accommodating us tonight. We also want to thank public safety officers who are in attendance for us. This event, as you all know, is being live streamed by WTHI-TV and on the radio via DLC Media on 105.5 and 99.5, both FM. We greatly appreciate their commitment to civic engagement in our community and partnering with us. Tonight, we are hosting the two mayoral candidates, incumbent mayor, Mr. Duke Bennett, and Mr. Brandon Sackbun. Our next candidate forum will be for the contested city council races. It's going to be held at the Vigo County Public Library on October 3rd at 6 p.m. The League has sponsored these candidate forums for decades, and we are very excited to once again be hosting the mayoral forum. It is through citizens becoming more informed and engaged, and we really need citizens to participate in elections and democratic life. So our goals here are for citizens to be able to ask questions and thus become more informed about their choices ahead of the November general election. So we're going to proceed as follows. The question and answer portion of tonight's program will run until 8 p.m., about 8:05. Then at that time, audience members will be able to meet the candidates until about 8:30. Candidates are going to kick off this forum with a 90-second introduction. Then we will open up the question and answer portion. Here, audience members may submit questions on note cards. Many of you have done so already, but you're always welcome to submit more. Simply write the question, hold the card up, and we have folks in the aisle who will come and collect them. Please note that the question needs to be formatted for both candidates and not for a single candidate in particular. Once we ask the questions, candidates will have 90 seconds to respond to each question. They will have a 30-second rebuttal period as well for each other. And at the end, they're going to have a 1-minute time for concluding remarks. We ask that as we move through tonight's forum that first you turn off or silence your phones, and then we ask that you be quiet and respectful to our candidates. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the candidates. I spoke with the candidates earlier, and I believe we have Mr. Sackbun, who's going to go first with or is it Mr. Bennett? Yeah. Mr. Bennett is going to go first with opening comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, welcome everybody. Glad to see the good turnout here tonight and talking about the things that are going on in our community. These elections are always interesting. They're always different. They're engaging, and I just wish, I'm thankful you're here, and I just hope that you'll be able to get what you want out of this tonight. So thank the League of Women Voters of Vigo County for hosting this event, as you always do, and providing this opportunity. You know, I've just a tiny bit of background on me. This is my third career, if you will. I worked for a software development company, then I worked for Hamilton Center, and now I've been mayor for 4 terms, and you know, all of those things prepared me prior to becoming mayor, but it's we've seen some great things happen in our community, and I think what's changed is the collaboration and the ability to work together, work across the aisle in many cases, to get things done for the betterment of our community. I'm excited about where we're headed, what we've accomplished, and really just looking forward tonight to your questions, been able to answer those, provide some other fill in the blanks, if you will, give you what you need to be able to make a very, very informed decision this fall, this November. It's an exciting time in our community. I'm glad you're here being a part of this tonight, and would appreciate your support in November as we move this community forward. So thank you very much.
Mr. Sackbun?
Good evening, and thank you all for attending tonight. My name is Brandon Sackbun. This is my second career. I was an Army Ranger and an Army officer for about 5 years. I currently teach in the school corporation as a substitute teacher. I grew up here. I went to schools right here in Terre Haute, Indiana. I actually went to Woodrow Wilson, I might add. Not one, not two, but 3 elections here for student council president. So it feels great to be back here on this stage. You know, in the past, I've had a lot of military experience with budgets, collaboration, and crisis response. And as I take a look at the city of Terre Haute, I acknowledge that there's been some progress, but there's also a lot of reason for concern. With a poverty level double the state average and an aging housing stock, we've got to turn towards a new chapter for the city of Terre Haute. I'm confident with the right resources and kind of a change of pace and change of mindset, we'll be able to transition to a new period for the city of Terre Haute. And I'm looking forward to discussing those tonight with you. Thank you so much to the League of Women Voters, Vigo County, as well as the Terre Haute Tribune Star, Channel 10, as well as Dave Crooks and the media stations here today. And we're looking forward to discussing these over the next 90 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The first question comes from the League of Women Voters. What policy priorities do you have that distinguishes you from your opponent? Mr. Sackbun, we'll open it up with you.
Absolutely. I'm really looking at the kind of housing problem here in Terre Haute, Indiana, not just working with Thrive, but finding a long-term solution to tackle city housing block by block. Now, why is that such a top priority for me personally? Because that issue also bleeds into the school corporation. With student enrollment, it bleeds into Indiana State with housing for our student population. And at the end of the day, we can have all the jobs in the world, but if we don't have a place to live and work and grow, how can we fully grow as a community? That's a top priority of mine. The second is forming a strategic committee for the city of Terre Haute, and we've had some attempts at this in the past, but essentially working the city council, county council, school corporation, business executives, as well as some of our superintendents to kind of chart a map forward as we move together for the city of Terre Haute. 20 years is simply just kind of too long, and we've been going at the status quo for a bit too long and focusing on areas like housing, quality of life, and bringing business and industry within city limits are 3 of the top priorities for me on day one.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes, back in 2019, even before that, there's been many community plans that we've had as a community, and they all just sat on the shelf and gathered dust. In 2019, we took a different approach to this and put together, and unfortunately COVID hit the next year, but we're doing some great things now by identifying 2 significant areas that I think are important to focus on. One is it really boils down to population growth. We need to increase our pool of people that are here for the jobs that are coming, fill existing jobs, and on the other side of it, raising household income. So those things go together. But then behind that comes the housing part of it. As many of you know, we received READY funds recently, $1.8 million that are being rolled out. 900,000 were put out into the community just recently, and there's another 900,000 behind that. And then the city and the county have both committed $5 million each to do housing. We've known that to be a problem. We just got our inventory back. We have our strategic plan, and they'll be sharing that with the city council next week. Shared it with the county council tonight. So these are all topical things. The other 2 components are workforce development. We have got to make sure people are ready. 25% of our kids are not graduating from high school here. We have got to make sure that 1, they graduate, and then 2, that they're prepared for the workforce. And then the third piece of this really is child care. We're struggling mightily in our community with the proper child care, early learning to prepare these kids to go to school. And so those are the 3 main areas that we're focused on through our community plan. So thank you. Out of time.
Okay. Mr. Sackbun, rebuttal?
Yeah, that's kind of a laundry list to unpack, so I'll start it. In 2019 with the CU and Terre Haute plan, if you look at the plan, it says task force 89 times in 147 pages. Mm-hmm. Where's kind of the updates with some of those task forces and that communication to the general public? And that's a big cause of concern. does the average citizen even know what the CU and Terre Haute brand and plan is? So communicating that city plan is a big, big portion of the next generation. The second thing that I'd like to hit there is when we discuss workforce development, we got to understand that child poverty is, oh, stop. All right, we'll hit this later.
Mr. Bennett.
Just would like to say about the community plan. We've got about 150 people from the community working on this plan. We've got 6 pillars and a variety of committees and subcommittees that are doing tremendous work in our community to improve the health of our community, increase household incomes, as I mentioned, housing, economic development, quality of life. All of those things are happening. You've got to plan first and implement, and we're in the implementation phase now. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next question. This is from one of our co-sponsors, the Greater Terre Haute branch of the NAACP. Of the $31 million ARPA funds available to the city, plans are to allocate $5 million each to housing, parks, and infrastructure, $4 million to City Hall, $8 million to hotel parking garage, small business and nonprofit support, early childhood and Indiana theater, and $250,000 for the animal shelter.